G'day everyone and welcome to Inside Rugby with Mark. This is a preview show and I'm going to be talking about that second test match that's coming up in Durban on Saturday between the home team, the South African Springboks, and the touring Irish. What a game it's going to be. Let's get into it in this video. G'day everyone and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Mark. I'm a retired Kiwi guy who's living life here in Cancun, Mexico. I'm a huge rugby fan and that's why I started this channel. So your support is very much appreciated. Now let's get into the show. We're going to be talking about the second test match that's going to be played between South Africa and Ireland in Durban this weekend, and what a game in prospect we have after that thrilling game in the first test. Now I've gone through a lot of the comments that have been dropped on my channel. I've watched a few online media pieces as well. Teams for the game have been announced. If you haven't watched the video I did about the South African selection, you can go and do that now, but I will run the South African team across the screen for you. But the Irish team has been named by Andy Farrell and there are a couple of interesting changes. So I'm going to go through the team now. We'll talk about the changes and then you can tell me what you think in the comments about the changes. So let's start off in the forwards for Ireland and who's going to start the game for them in Kings Park in Durban on Saturday. And in the front row we have Andrew Porter, and because Dan Sheehan is out from a hooking point of view, we have Kelleher starting in the hooking position. And then the other prop is going to be Ty Furlong. So a bit of a change in the front row for Ireland. Is it going to make a big difference? Well, Sheehan always plays well for Ireland, but I think Kelleher is going to do the job for Ireland. We'll have to wait and see on that one. Now, a new locking combination for Ireland in this game, and this is interesting. Joe McCarthy and Ryan are going to start the game for Ireland. This is very, very interesting, and I'm expecting both Ryan and McCarthy to have big games. Didn't see as much of Joe McCarthy in that first game as we normally do, so I expect him to have a belter this weekend. He's a fantastic young player. I really like the guy. He's up there with as being one of the best locks in world rugby at the moment, and I'm sure he's going to shine this weekend. Okay, let's have a look at the back three for Ireland in the forwards, and we've got Byrne coming in for O'Mahony, and O'Mahony's been dropped to the bench. Many of us had said that O'Mahony might not be chosen this week to start the game, and he's not. He's going to be sitting on the bench, so we've got Byrne coming on as one of the loosies, and on the other side, of course, it's Josh van der Flier. Caelan Doris is going to start at number 8, and what a fantastic game he had last weekend. Expect him to have another big one, and he's going to be the captain of the Irish team this weekend, and that's the second time in his career that Caelan Doris is going to have the pleasure of running the Irish team out onto the field at Kings Park this weekend. So a great starting 8, I think, for Ireland. I think they're going to do very, very well against the Springboks team. Now let's have a look at the substitute forwards that Ireland are bringing into this game. And they include Herring, Healy, Bealham, Baird and O'Mahony. So there we go. Peter O'Mahony gets to start off the bench for this game for Ireland, and Baird is also on the bench. So going to be really interesting to see the impact of the Irish substitutes. We know how good the Springboks bomb squad is. We saw it up close and personal last weekend, and the Irish team are going to, or the Irish substitutes are really going to have to be on their game, and that's why Peter O'Mahony's experience might be good coming on in that last part of the game. Now let's have a look at the Irish backline, because there's been a couple of changes there as well. And we start off at fullback, and we've got Jamie Osborne. I like him. I've been talking him up in all of my videos, and I think he did a stellar job last weekend at fullback. He seemed fairly natural in that role. Of course, he's played fullback before, but he did step up to international test rugby, and I thought he had a very good game. So he definitely deserves the start again this weekend. And then on the wings, with no changes there, we've got Kelvin Nash and James Lowe. James Lowe will be wanting a little bit of a better game this weekend, cutting out a couple of those little errors or points that made a big difference last weekend. I don't think we're going to see that from James Lowe again this weekend. And as I normally say, watch out for his big left foot, because it can get Ireland out of a bit of trouble when they're deep in defence. Moving on into the centres, and we've got some changes here. Gary Ringrose is going to be playing at 13, but Robbie Henshaw is moving into 12. No Bundy Aki. Whoa, what's going on? No Bundy Aki for Ireland. This is a big statement for me. I don't know if he's injured. Let me know in the comments. He might be injured. But I don't think I would ever leave Bundy Aki out of a rugby team, that's for sure. But we've got Robbie Henshaw in there. Maybe Andy Farrell knows something that I don't. He probably knows a lot more than I don't. So it might be a grand selection putting Henshaw and Ringrose in there in the centres. And then moving inside, we've got Jack Crowley, of course. And he'll want to make sure he's got his kicking boots on this weekend. There's going to be a pretty good chance that this game is close again. So every penalty or even drop goal is going to be important this weekend. Let's see if Jack Crowley is up to it. And then at halfback, it's Connor Murray. Yes, we saw Casey, unfortunately, Craig Casey, have that big hit on his head from R.G. Schneemann last week in that tackle. Really knocked him out, and there was pretty much no chance, I thought, that he would be playing this weekend. So Connor Murray comes on. Now, I've got to say, I'm not a Connor Murray fan anymore. I think he's past his best. He does too much kicking for me. Box kicking, box kicking, box kicking. Ireland need a team that can set this backline apart. But with Henshaw and Ringrose in there might be a different strategy coming from Andy Farrell this week. They may be looking to do a bit more kicking. We'll have to wait and see on that one. But I can tell you now, Colby, Rense and Willie LaRue, they're pretty good and safe under the high ball. So that could be a bit of a mistake if Ireland go down that way. But we've got Connor Murray starting the game at halfback. Let's see how he goes. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt until the 80 minutes are over. Let's have a look at the substitute backs for Ireland, and we've got Blade, Frawley and McCloskey. Pleased to see McCloskey in there. I think he's a really, really good player. Obviously a utility player that can be used across the back line for Ireland, and he can come on and make an impact in this game. So a good solid bench there for the backs for Ireland, and we'll have to see how Blade goes well at this level. He's going to be up against it, of course, against these South Africans. So there we go. That's the Irish team to play against South Africa this weekend in the second test match in Durban. Now let's head on and I'll talk about my predictions and what I think is going to happen in this game. Well, to start off my prediction for this game, we have to have a little bit look back at last week's game, I think, because we can pull a couple of things out of that game and maybe say that they were a little bit unusual when it comes to Ireland's performance. And I'm talking particularly about James Lowe's performance and a couple of things that he did that might have given South Africa the edge in that game. I don't think we're going to have a repeat of that in this game this weekend. But I would context all that under the word clinical. I think Ireland need to be more clinical in this game against South Africa this weekend. Try to minimise those errors as much as possible, because the Springboks are going to hurt you. They're either going to hurt you through the forwards or they're going to hurt you through the backs. They don't need many opportunities, and we saw what Colby did with that wonderful try where Lowe kept the ball in play. Colby was there on the spot. They're very good at taking these small margins and turning them into points, and that's exactly what happened with South Africa this weekend. So I think Ireland, if they're going to have a chance of winning this game, they need to be clinical in all areas of their play. They've got to make sure that their tackles are precise, that their discipline doesn't fall off, and that when they go into the breakdowns that they're there quickly and trying to turn over that ball. It's going to be a huge contest in the back. And I think we saw it last week as well. Quagga Smith has been picked again in that number 8 role for the South Africans because he's so dynamic in the breakdown, and I can see exactly why Rassie has him in that position. So look for the breakdowns. I think they're going to be a vital element of this game, and let's see how Byrne goes in there for the Irish on the loose head side as well. Now I think another area of this game that's going to be really fascinating to watch this weekend is going to be the 9 and 10 combinations on both sides. Of course, the Springboks have got Faf de Klerk and they've got Handré Pollard, two very experienced players at this level, and they know how to get the Springboks team around the park. We saw a display from Handré Pollard last weekend that was a little bit unusual when it came to his goal kicking. He's probably going to be over that, and if that's the case, that's going to be more points for South Africa in this game. I think South Africa can score 25-30 points against this Irish team, so that means Ireland's attack has to be on the game. And I'm a little bit unsure why Bundy Aki's not there, because he's the guy that can break open the South African defence. But I think Andy Farrell might be looking for a new way to get through that Jesse Creel and Damien Diolande situation, because that defence from the Springboks has been immense so far in this series. And maybe we're going to see a little bit more kicking from the Irish in this game to try and penetrate that defence and put the South African rush defence on the back foot a little bit. So look around the kicking strategy on how that's going to work in this game, particularly from the Irish side. I don't think South Africa is going to change up too much, and when Pollard does get substituted with Sasha Feinberg, I think we're going to see South Africa play a very open game, and they're going to take it to this Irish team. Particularly if we find it at that stage, the South Africans have a good lead. I think it's going to be very interesting to see what they do, whether they do play an expansive game. I think they can get through this Irish defence if they're prepared to take the gamble. And I do say that it is a gamble because it may not pay off. But I see them having so much talent in that backline. Diolande is so good at hitting up the line. Creel is good as well. And when the ball gets out to those wingers for South Africa, anything can happen. And with Willie Leroux at the fullback for South Africa, they've got that option to look for strategic kicks. And we've seen them in the last couple of games as well. 50-22s are something that Willie Leroux can execute almost at a whim. So look out for that play from South Africa to get territory going against this Irish team. Now, despite all the gossip around Sia Kolisi in that first game, I think he had a wonderful game for the time that he was on the field. He did some really good busting runs, and he was obviously leading the South African team, and that's such a vital thing from Kolisi. So make sure you keep an eye on him in this game. I think he's going to have another big game, and he's going to have those inside channels are going to be important for both teams, and it's going to be interesting to see whether either team of loose forwards have an opportunity to start doing some of those busting runs upside the inside channels and drawing in the 9 and 10 for the defense. I think South Africa are going to do this, and I think that's why Kwagga Smith is still in there at number 8, because I think he's a man that can actually make the difference around those inside channels and just set that South African platform up so the ball can be coming out wide and good to both Faf de Klerk and Andre Pollard. Ireland are going to try the same thing, so I think it's going to be a little bit of a collective task, this one. Caelan Doris we saw last week doing some fantastic runs, and he did get through that initial South African defence around the breakdown. So look for him, and look for Van der Fleer and Byrne to be a little bit more active in that area as well. When it comes to the set piece, I think over the 80 minutes, South Africa is going to have the advantage in the scrums. It may not start off that way while the Irish team are fresh, but I think by the time the bomb squad comes on and we see Malcolm Marx and we see R.G. Schneemann and we see Van Staden come in, these guys really make a difference to the South African team. So over the course of 80 minutes, I don't think the Irish pack can contend with what South Africa can throw at them in this game, but I think they can contend for a large part of the game. So with that said, I think Ireland need to focus on getting points on the board early in this game and trying to put South Africa under pressure, because if that bomb squad comes on and South Africa's leading the game, or they're close to leading the game, it makes it a little bit easier for them emotionally. I think if the bomb squad comes on and they're chasing the game, there's a lot more pressure on them to perform. So I think if Ireland get to 60 minutes of this game and they happen to be in the lead, even by a try or two, then I think they've got a really good advantage. I just can't see it happening with South Africa's strength and also their talent across the field of play. Now, an area that concerns me in this game for Ireland is their back reserves. I don't think Blade, Frawley and McCluskey are going to have the same kind of impact that we're going to see from Grant Williams and from Sasha Feinberg. I just think those guys have got not only their speed but the talent that can have a real impact in this game. So that's going to be another area that I think we should watch out for, is what impacts those backs have when they come on the field and when they come on the field. Watch out for discipline to be a big thing in this one. We haven't seen any real bad discipline issues from both teams. There could be a yellow card in this game. That could have a big impact on as well. So both teams, I think, will be getting stress from their coaches. Andy Farrow and Rassie Erasmus will be telling their team, boys, make sure you go into that tackle in the proper technique and not have any high shots where we could see somebody sent off to the sin bin. Penalty kicks, a goal and percentages are going to be important in this game. So Andre Pollard and Jack Crowley are going to be two instrumental players in that area, of course. If they are within kicking range, expect for the kickers to come up and have a shot at goal. I think points are so scarce between these two teams that they're going to take the opportunity when they can. That's going to be all well and good unless we see one of the teams ahead and wanting to put the pressure on the other team, and then I think we might see a kick for touch and some forward momentum trying to be developed. But I think when it's close, we're going to see those penalty kicks be taken for the kick at goal. A whole lot of factors that go into my final prediction for this game. The first one is the injury list for Ireland. I think it is going to have an impact. The fact they're missing Jamie Jamison Gibson Park as well as Hugo Keenan. I think at the end of the day, those are two players that can win test matches of this level for the Irish. But those stand-ins, I think, will do a good job. Will it be good enough? I don't think so against this South African team. And I think one of the reasons Rassie has selected another team exactly the same as last time is that he wants to give these players the opportunity to get their combinations and rhythm into the game. And as a result of that, I think we're going to see a better South African team this week. If the Irish are able to cut out their errors that they had in that first game and be more clinical in this game, they've got a good shot at it. But I'm going to call this one to South Africa by 6 points. I think they're going to get over the line in Kings Park, Durban. We're back at sea level for this game in Durban, so I think that's going to help the Irish as well. So 80 minutes of rugby at full throttle could be possible for them this week. I just don't think it's going to be enough, and I see South Africa coming out on top by about 6 points in this game. I just hope it's a fantastic test match like it was in the first one. I hope that we don't see too many errors either from the players, the referees or the TMO, and we get a great game of rugby. So there you go, that's my prediction for the second test match between the Springboks and Ireland this weekend. Let me know in the comments what you think of my thoughts around this game. Also the Irish selection, let me know what you think of the team. Are there any other players there on the fringe and peripheral that you would have put into this team, given what Andy Farrell's had to deal with injuries and everything else that's going on? I'd really like to hear your views. Now I'm going to be back, of course, after all the games this weekend with my preview video, so please stick around for that. The best way of doing it is hitting the subscribe button. That's free. Give this video a bit of a thumbs up as well. And I want to thank you all very much for watching my videos. I very much appreciated that. Okay, until next time, it's time to say adios from here in beautiful Cancun, Mexico. You stay well, stay safe, keep enjoying your rugby all across the world, and I'll see you again really soon. Until then, bye for now.